I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point, and the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything.
A photograph that surfaced on January 26, 2026, spread fast across social media. It showed Prince Harry unshaven, slumped in the back seat under a thermal blanket, boots still on, his face worn down by exhaustion. The image hit hard because it didn't look staged or polished. It looked raw, uncomfortable, and real. This wasn't about losing royal privileges anymore. It looked like a man overwhelmed, cut off, and struggling to hold things together. For weeks, talk of financial trouble had circulated, but now the situation appeared more serious and visible. Reports indicated the Montecito property known as Riven Rock, purchased in 2020 for $14.65 million, had entered foreclosure proceedings after required homeowners' insurance reportedly lapsed amid California's wildfire risks. That lapse allegedly triggered a technical default, allowing the lender to call in the mortgage balance of roughly $9.5 million. By January 2026, it was widely believed no outside financial support would step in. The lifestyle once presented as a fresh American chapter now appeared to be unraveling quietly and fast. Inside the estate, appraisers reportedly cataloged high-end furnishings, security equipment, and production-related assets tied to past media projects. Estimates suggested the remaining contents were valued far lower than expected, especially when compared to ongoing financial obligations. Meanwhile, previously announced media deals failed to deliver long-term stability. Only limited upfront payments were confirmed, while several projects stalled or never moved forward. Additional personal loans and security expenses reportedly added pressure, leaving deadlines looming and options narrowing fast. By December 2025, the financial pressure had become impossible to ignore. Legal representatives tied to Tyler Perry's business interests reportedly issued a formal repayment notice, followed by final demand letters dated January 10th. The message was clear and urgent: resolve the debt or prepare for legal action. At the same time, Meghan Markle remained publicly visible, sharing carefully styled photos from Beverly Hills cafes, luxury hotels, and spa lounges. The images projected calm and comfort, sharply contrasting with reports from former staff suggesting the family was quietly rotating between temporary accommodations earlier that month. The disconnect raised eyebrows fast.
Every single time you have those headlines, we all get that there's a really big urgent message.
When the couple appeared briefly at the Sundance Film Festival, the tension was impossible to miss. They arrived separately, posed apart, and left through different exits. No shared moments, no family presence. The visual story spoke louder than words. During a January 27th BBC interview, Prince William addressed the situation directly. Calm but firm, he explained that public royal funds could not be used to resolve private financial decisions. He confirmed that a large financial request had been declined, emphasizing that public institutions must operate with responsibility, not emotion. William acknowledged the images circulating online, but noted that personal resilience has limits, especially when family responsibilities are involved. He expressed sadness, not surprise, over how events unfolded, a sentiment reportedly shared across senior royal circles as concerns quietly intensified behind palace doors. At that point, the mood reportedly shifted from quiet detachment to real concern. According to accounts later shared by former contractors, the family's living situation had become increasingly unstable, with frequent short-term stays and limited routine over a brief period. Relatives were said to assist where possible, helping with basic needs, but the lack of consistency was hard to ignore. There were growing questions around structure and stability. One source summarized it bluntly: access to technology was easy, but routine and predictability were not. The issue wasn't luxury, it was continuity. Prince William closed his BBC interview with firm clarity. He stated that the monarchy could not prevent personal hardship, but it would not allow public narratives to be distorted. He emphasized that choices, not institutions, had shaped the situation, and those words ignited immediate reaction. Within hours, public opinion split sharply. Some praised the honesty. Others felt the tone was unforgiving, but the media shift was undeniable. Coverage moved from concern to accountability almost overnight. By January 28th, headlines grew sharper, and online discussion intensified. Longtime supporters began asking uncomfortable questions. especially as images surfaced showing Harry living a visibly unsettled routine. Attention turned toward the children, not in accusation, but in concern over stability. Palace officials stayed silent publicly, but behind the scenes, senior offices reportedly reviewed procedural options related to safeguarding standards, not custody claims. The focus, sources stressed, was responsibility and welfare, not control. Meanwhile, Meghan appeared at a West Hollywood event days later, smiling for cameras, posing beside brand displays. She made no public comment about the turmoil. The contrast was striking, and for many watching, impossible to overlook. That same evening, legal representatives connected to Tyler Perry's trust reportedly filed termination notices across multiple jurisdictions, formally ending all remaining financial and legal ties with Harry and Meghan. Sources familiar with the situation suggested frustration had grown after a costly PR agreement was approved shortly after other obligations went unmet. One advisor summed it up sharply: "She's managing a brand, not a crisis, and that brand is becoming a risk." Back in the UK, senior royals convened privately. Prince William, Prince Edward, and Princess Anne were said to agree on one clear position: no more loans, no quiet assistance, and no institutional effort to reframe Harry's situation as a misunderstanding. King Charles, while personally distressed by recent images, reportedly deferred policy decisions to William, aware that public tolerance for controversy had long thinned. Inside palace offices, aides assembled a precise timeline, missed insurance coverage, lender notices, repayment demands, denied credit access, foreclosure actions, and high-profile public appearances. Each date represented not just an event, but a warning that had gone unanswered. The concern within royal circles wasn't image management anymore. It was unpredictability. Advisors quietly feared that feeling isolated and cornered could push Harry toward impulsive decisions. William remained firm, reiterating that emotion could not override responsibility. As February approached, pressure mounted fast. By late January, reports surfaced that Harry had been denied access to a private Malibu property he once frequented. Shortly after, a short video circulated online showing him leaving a gated entrance without incident. No confrontation, no drama, just a closed gate and a quiet exit. Public attention intensified. Cameras didn't chase scandal, they waited. Gym parking lots, valet stands, ordinary places capturing an extraordinary fall. Former security sources described a stripped-down routine shaped by caution and constant movement, a reality far removed from palace life. Meanwhile, speculation about the couple's separation grew. Their separate appearances, lack of shared messaging, and independent PR efforts fueled questions. Meghan continued limited public engagements tied to branding. Harry remained largely absent from that world. By late January, reports suggested the children were staying temporarily across short-term accommodations. Officials stressed this reflected transition, not judgment. Even so, the absence of long-term routine raised concern among observers watching from afar. What began as a quiet step away from royal duty had become a very public unraveling. And by then, the world wasn't guessing anymore. It was watching, frame by frame. The image of a once-protected royal family drifting without stability reportedly sent a ripple of concern through palace offices. On January 28th, Kensington Palace circulated an internal memo referencing a rarely used safeguarding framework tied to royal descendants. While not enforceable outside the UK, the move signaled heightened attention and serious intent, not public action. Legal teams were instructed to quietly explore diplomatic options with UK-US liaison offices, focusing on welfare standards rather than authority. According to aides, Princess Anne spoke with particular urgency, stressing that when children are involved, structure and responsibility must come first. This wasn't sentiment, it was principle. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle remained active online, posting images from wellness treatments and Beverly Hills juice bars, captions light and upbeat. Comment sections were restricted, but public reaction wasn't. Questions flooded elsewhere. She offered no response. At Windsor, Prince William reviewed ongoing updates with steady resolve. Staff said he examined financial summaries and verified reports tied to the Montecito property situation. What he saw reinforced a decision already forming. On January 30th, William spoke publicly at a welfare-focused event. Though not scripted, he ended with a pointed message about responsibility, stating that titles and uniforms mean little without accountability, especially when circumstances grow difficult. The words landed hard. Behind the scenes, the most decisive moment had already passed. Earlier in January, Harry had submitted a request for significant emergency funding through formal channels, aimed at stabilizing debts and legal exposure. After reviewing detailed financial assessments, the response was unanimous: no assistance. The internal report described not a temporary setback, but a broader financial breakdown involving missed obligations, terminated protections, and denied credit access. Within 48 hours, William's office issued a formal refusal. No loans, no guarantees, no interim support of any kind. The letter carried multiple senior signatures, signaling unity. What followed wasn't just financial separation, it was a clear public boundary. During a later BBC discussion on ethics and public stewardship, William addressed the issue directly. He stated that transparency is not cruelty, and accountability is not betrayal. Personal love, he said, cannot override public duty. Inside Clarence House, King Charles reportedly echoed that stance, noting privately that forgiveness does not require financial endorsement. And when Catherine was shown recent footage of Harry living quietly on the margins, she reportedly paused before saying softly that what once felt like temporary disappearances now left only unanswered questions. Those close to the situation say the calm on the surface masked a deeper fear, not just for Harry, but for the long-term impact his decisions could have on his family. Quiet concern began turning into something louder across the UK. Between January 27th and January 30th, Kensington Palace reportedly received thousands of messages from veterans, healthcare workers, and family advocates, many of whom had once publicly supported Harry's charitable work. The message was strikingly consistent. Hardship happens, mistakes happen, but responsibility doesn't disappear, especially where family stability is concerned. As that sentiment spread, Meghan remained publicly silent on financial issues, even as speculation grew about her next professional move. Behind the scenes, industry interest cooled fast. Sources familiar with agency discussions described potential projects as stalled, citing uncertainty and lack of structure. One executive summed it up bluntly: "Right now, it's not investable." And as January 2026 came to a close, Harry wasn't just isolated, he was boxed in. What remained wasn't just debt, but memory, access, and the risk of stories still untold. By January 31st, the Montecito estate stood empty. What had once been presented as a private sanctuary was now a silent property, cleared out, sealed, and formally closed under foreclosure orders. Across the Atlantic, palace officials weren't shocked, only confirmed in their concerns. Attention shifted to what might come next. According to anonymous industry voices, old project outlines and creative concepts tied to royal-themed narratives suddenly resurfaced abroad, outside traditional studio systems. Palace legal teams responded quickly, issuing precautionary notices and reviewing existing confidentiality agreements. The worry wasn't just legal exposure, it was implication. One advisor put it plainly: "You don't need to say everything to cause damage. Suggestion alone can travel fast." William was reportedly clear-eyed about that risk. In private conversations, he acknowledged that control over narrative is limited, but values are not. He preferred restraint over contradiction, even if silence drew criticism. Within royal circles, tension wasn't hidden. Some urged softer diplomacy, others backed firm governance. The divide grew sharper, especially after William's public remarks and the formal financial refusal. Meanwhile, Meghan continued projecting calm normalcy online, sharing curated moments from wellness spaces and lifestyle settings. Public reaction, however, was far less forgiving. The contrast struck many as jarring, especially as reports surfaced of family members quietly handling everyday responsibilities away from cameras. By then, the story had moved beyond image. It wasn't about titles or privilege anymore, it was about accountability, stability, and the consequences of choices made under pressure. And as the month closed, one truth settled in fast: whatever came next wouldn't stay private for long. Sources later confirmed the so-called Pink House was a short-term guest cottage used briefly before another move followed. By then, public interest around Harry had shifted, not because of sympathy, but fatigue. Cameras pulled back, not out of respect, but because there was nothing new to capture. A man alone in his car no longer shocked anyone. What unsettled media outlets wasn't what had happened, but what might happen next? Would Harry speak out? Would legal action follow? Would the Crown move first? Inside Kensington Palace, contingency planning intensified. A dormant response unit was quietly reactivated to prepare for every possible media and legal scenario. One official summarized the concern plainly. When someone has nothing left to lose, unpredictability becomes the risk. Even so, Catherine remained steady. Palace sources described her as the anchor, calm, focused, unshaken. When asked what she believed Harry might do next, her response was blunt. Whatever brings attention, protection, or income. As January turned into February, the tension deepened. This wasn't just a family rift. It was a collision between silence and confession, restraint and reaction. On February 1st, Harry was reportedly seen parked behind a fitness center, engine running, no entourage, no visible support. The image felt final. Behind palace doors, planning entered its most serious phase. Advisors reviewed every potential narrative threat, from unpublished material to unauthorized recordings. Timing, not content, was the greatest concern. Speak too soon and risk escalation. Say nothing and risk speculation. William made his position clear. There would be no extensions, no emotional interventions, no public bargaining. The institution would hold firm. While some urged gestures of softness, others argued restraint was the strongest signal. Catherine supported that view, advising that credibility, not spectacle, must lead. Within days, coordinated steps followed. Palace messaging emphasized stability and responsibility without naming individuals. Financial audits were released showing clean separation from Sussex ventures. Senior royals appeared publicly at welfare-focused events, reinforcing values without confrontation. Meanwhile, reports surfaced of a small overseas production exploring a dramatized project inspired by royal themes. No confirmations, no official response, just quiet monitoring. Back in California, Meghan faded from public view, no posts, no appearances, and as the silence stretched, one truth became unavoidable. The loudest chapter might still be ahead, but the Crown had chosen its posture, calm, prepared, and unflinching. No new posts, no red carpets, no sponsored appearances. The public silence was total. The only image to surface showed Meghan walking alone through a West Hollywood hotel lobby, face partially hidden, phone pressed to her ear. Quiet, controlled, deliberate. Sources close to the situation suggested her legal team had begun exploratory conversations with specialist firms abroad, focusing on risk management rather than offense. The message was clear. She expected backlash and was preparing for it if the outcome justified the cost. Harry, meanwhile, remained unsettled. One former aide described it as movement with intention. No fixed base, no public destination, but not aimless either. In the early hours of February 2nd, his vehicle was reportedly seen leaving a modest motel. Observers noted a sealed envelope on the passenger seat, its markings familiar to those who recognized them. What it contained was unknown, but speculation moved fast. By then, the deadline had passed. No return, no reconciliation, no formal response. Palace procedures advanced quietly. Senior officials prepared measures redefining Harry's future role. Symbolic, not personal. No erasure, no spectacle, just separation. Ceremonial access would end, institutional involvement would stop, future participation would be conditional, not assumed. The decision carried weight, and it closed a chapter long left open. Now attention shifts elsewhere, to potential disclosures, negotiations, or legal moves still unseen. The Crown has chosen restraint. Harry still holds his story. And when silence breaks, it won't whisper. It will land. If you want the next chapter the moment it drops, hit subscribe, stay locked in, and don't miss what comes next.